This is our regular board meeting on June 12th, 2023 at 5:30 PM in the Central Admin offices. The school district mission statement is, all students will learn well, become lifelong learners, and contribute positively to society. I'd like to call the meeting to order with a roll call, please.
Moore.
Here.
Mike Thomas.
Here.
Bob Thomas.
Here.
Shondell.
Here.
Berger.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Liskus.
Here. I'd like to welcome our visitors tonight, which we're going to have here a little in-depth discussion here when we go into closed session, but thank you for making the trip down from Sioux City.
You're welcome.
And Cameron and Aaron. Aaron, this might be a short meeting for you because we're going to go into closed session pretty quick, so. If you want to, are we going to need a report from him?
Can I share your report so you don't have to stick around for all that?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yep, okay, so.
Can buy you a night with your kids?
There you go, okay. So with that, and just welcome our visitors and so forth, I'd like to, next time, approve the agenda. Motion in a second, please.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion second to approve the agenda. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The agenda is approved. Next item, number 4, is closed session. And to discuss strategy with counsel in matters that are presently in litigation where disclosure would likely be prejudice or disadvantage the position of the governmental body in that litigation per Iowa Code Section 21.5, subparagraph C, or 1 subparagraph C. Roll call vote, please. Do we need a motion in a second? Motion is second to go into closed session.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to go into closed session. Roll call, please.
Moore.
Yes.
Mike Thomas.
Here.
Bob Thomas.
Here.
Shondell. Oh,
Yes.
Shondell.
Yes.
Berger.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Liskus.
Yes. We are now in closed session per the board positively voting that. For the purpose of the recording, we have concluded item number 4, closed session, and we are now back into open session as approved by the members of the board. We are now on item 5, approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. And Lisa, did you have a comment on that?
On the minutes, I had just, on the bond resolutions, I had put in there the president adopted, but you weren't, Mike was in the chair, so I put the word vice in front of those.
Yeah. Well, technicality hasn't changed on the meeting minutes, so.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion second to approve the meeting minutes of the previous meeting. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Meeting minutes are approved. Old business, there is no new business. Okay. Approve the Centerville High School addition project change order number 4. Did you get some more information on that?
You have something
Okay.
from Rochelle. So Rochelle shared with me some materials, data sheets on these 2 floorings, and they are spot on, the same. They both work the same way. They have the same tensile strength. It's essentially the same surface made by a different company. It happens to be $10,000 cheaper. So she is recommending, and I would agree with her from that we approve the change order to go with the slightly cheaper gym flooring.
It's basically approve them to change the vendor than to spec.
Yeah, it's just a vendor difference. It's very similar to the flooring that's in the Howard Gymnasium.
Motion to approve. Change order.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve the change orders. Number 4, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Change order is approved. Resolution to transfer funds for athletic protective equipment. This will be a roll call vote.
And this is a pretty common practice. I visited with superintendents from other conference schools. This is generally what you have to do in order to be able to recondition football helmets and pads so that you're legal to use them for another year, which is the bulk of what this covers. It's just making sure that our equipment actually protects the health and safety of our students on the field.
Motion to move the transfer of funds. Second.
We have a motion second to approve the transfer of funds for the athletic protective equipment. Roll call, please.
Moore,
Yes.
Mike Thomas,
Yes.
Bob Thomas.
Yes.
Shonda.
Yes.
Berger,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Liscus.
Yes. Approve changes in bus driver wages. This is adding a step system. I don't know if everybody's clear on this one, Mark. I don't know if
So we created a step system with what we did when we did all the wages. But because so many people were so below the amount, we set them on the step one to raise them up to that. I'm proposing that we place them on the step that would be commensurate with their years with this. It'll actually end up being a pretty sizable raise for some people, but that's what we wanted to accomplish with this anyway. So it will cost us additional money. I think we saw it in the range of 15,000 total, but it's doing the right thing for our bus drivers and trying to make sure that we can be competitive in what's a very crazy world out there right now in recruiting.
because the way it would have been, some of the most tenured bus drivers would not have gotten a raise. Or very little.
The 3%, actually, it's still.
They would have missed out on the intent.
Well, actually, some of our least tenured ones would have missed out on some of our advanced deal with it, yeah. So this helps just make everything right, and I have to admit, it was a miss on my part not to catch this before. This was the right thing to do from the beginning, and I just missed that. So I'm asking for your help to help make it right for our bus drivers and make sure that we're taking good care of those folks.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve the bus driver change in wages and step system. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is the E.
D.
Oh, approve the general cafeteria and activities fees. There you go, sorry.
You and me? Okay, so, in general, most of our fees we'd like to leave the same. We are required by law, from the state to raise student and adult cafeteria fees. There's a calculator, what's Shay's department called?
The Department of Nutrition.
The Department of Nutrition, we have to follow a calculator, and it said that we have to raise the fees for next year in that area. And we'd like to leave the rest of the fees the same rather than raising them anything.
It's like 10 cents raise on a lot of things. 10 cents a meal.
The adult lunch is the one that raised the most, but that is not negotiable on that.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, there's no negotiation on the meals. I'll go to the activities section, and I know we discussed this was discussed last year. The music concerts, you know, band or vocal grades 3 through 12. Fee schedule is in there was never any fees charged. And most of those are required for grades. So I would like to see those just stricken completely and offer, you know, free will donation to the band boosters or whatever's
I
collected.
mean, for adults.
Yeah. I mean, if my kids has to be there for a grade, there's no reason I should have to pay to go see my child. And it's never been charged. I mean, I don't know the last time it was ever actually charged. I know it's always been on the fee schedule, but I don't recall, I mean, it was being 8th grade, I don't ever remember getting charged. Now, you know, Boxman, of course, yes, you charge for that. You know, your plays, you charge for that, but just for the standard spring concert, winter concert, you know, Christmas concert.
You know, I guess, my view is, we had all 5 kids in band, and we paid the fee in support of the music program. And I guess I never really thought much about it. We went to a lot of concerts.
Yeah. My thought on this, and I said the same thing a year ago, was a lot of the community, you know, if it's somebody that's out there and, you know, if they're gonna choose to put supper on the table or go see little Timmy at a band on a next Christmas concert, that he's gotta be there to get a grade. I just don't think we should. If they're required to be there for their grade, we shouldn't be charging.
So, and here's, and I get what you're saying about required for the grade. Football, basketball, everything, a lot of their money comes supported by gate. This is the band gate. And it goes to buy a lot of the things that they do throughout the year. This is how the band is funded first, and you could probably tell more in depth, but there are so many little things that goes into buying sheet music and buying all sorts of things that go to it.
Yeah,
This is their gate.
Do we charge, I mean, I don't know, high school, do we charge for the high school band concerts?
I don't think we have this year. I don't think that we
I
have.
know middle school we had it, and I know, the elementary programs, the local concerts, I've never paid a gate.
I don't even think my last couple of years of teaching we had, I don't know what happened in the interim.
I remember, we paid for every concert we went to that our kids went.
I think,
I've only paid for the plays.
Well, maybe, did we suspend it during COVID?
well, that would make sense, a lot of districts would have done that. The question that we came up my last couple of years, and I did not, as a band director, have access to an attorney to ask that question, but was whether or not we were in violation of copyright law to charge a fee for a concert.
I would challenge you to do a free will donation, and I think you'd bring in more money than you would charging $3, $5.
That's probably true. I know I talked to Rich Parker about our middle school softball games. Because I guess the last couple of years, they've not charged for middle school baseball, but have charged for middle school softball. I shared that we need to be equal and not charge for middle school softball, and Rich shared with me that actually at times in the past when they didn't charge for it, they put a free bowl offering at the concession stand and actually got plenty to support the program through that. Now, I'm not saying that that would work for all varsity sports, because
Right.
obviously the state doesn't give us, as we looked at the board table, they don't give us a good mechanism to fund those aside from gate sales.
So, this is activity ticket money that stays in the district. This is not booster, it doesn't go into any booster fund, correct?
No.
Okay. That would be the right answer that I would be looking for.
But if this is just going to general fund, or is it
No.
earmarked for?
It
Separate.
goes into activity fund.
So, then I guess my question, as we're gonna have this, why aren't music concert covered by a family activity pass?
It depends on what grade level you're in, if it's extracurricular or part of a grade. If it's part of this, I think I started this conversation, if it's part of a grade, it's not extracurricular.
Yeah, if you choose to play football or baseball or middle school baseball, softball, it's not a big
For
deal.
band, chorus, drama, if you have to have that performance for your grade, then it's not extracurricular.
Sounds like a policy thing.
As a music teacher, I mean, I love the idea of having more people coming, and I think you get more people at a concert if you're not charging. I think the challenge becomes then funding things like jazz band contests and like where
But
we
if
fund
we're
that
not taking
from.
it to gate anyway,
Right.
it doesn't matter.
But your
There's
jazz
a
band
balance in
concert,
there right
your
now.
jazz band, you could charge for. That's an extra.
Well, and Java and Jazz is a
Yeah.
booster, a music boosters item for which there is a fee.
But it's not part of the grade, right?
True.
Yeah.
To me, it's always been a couple bucks to support the program, and we usually gave extra money to the program anyways. Just because that was our family just did on band. So it's different for every family, and I know that you see some people that, it's tough to make ends meet, and I get that.
But what part of their grade is it? You say it's part of their grade.
Well, if you take band, and you're in the band, there's gonna be a winter concert, there's gonna be a spring concert, and that is part of your grade to be there.
Okay, but what part?
It's
I don't know,
1%.
what percent, I don't know.
pretty high percent, it's the summative evaluation for band. So, I mean, typically, and band is one I can speak pretty well to, and you typically use that as your summative evaluation, and it will make up a good portion of your grade. I mean,
Okay.
maybe director to director, it might be a slightly different percent, but it should be a big part of it.
Okay.
Would there be any documentation showing what gates have been at each activity?
I guess I'm almost surprised we're not charging that band these days.
Because I think that'd be important for me to go to a vote on this, because if we're gonna have a fee, then we better charge a fee.
Exactly.
And if there's no documentation of that, that's a problem. To me.
I'm starting to think this is gonna roll into old business real quick.
Unfortunately, if we do that with the meal charges, will we be out of compliance with our reporting for the nutrition fund at all? Do we wait until July to?
Well, I think we have to get registration stuff.
So could we have a,
Oh, yeah, so we can't register any students then until after
Procedural.
which would be an issue.
so procedurally, could we approve everything but the activities?
I guess my question is this, so if it says this is what we will charge when we charge, this is the fee that we will charge on a concert for which we're going to charge, does that mean we'll always charge?
Well, I've always had to pay to get into any sports-related activities, whether it was middle school or high school. If it says we charge, we should charge.
Yeah. Is there a case where you think we would not charge?
Well, I think specifically where we weren't charging for boys' middle school baseball and not charging for girls' middle school softball, I think that's an equity concern. And that was where I made that decision this spring, because I would much rather not receive a small amount of money than have an equity concern regarding boys and girls sports.
I guess what was the purpose in not charging for one?
They don't have a place that they can charge, it's an open field, so you can walk there from any direction.
There's no gate to go through.
In the past, the fence has been put up.
We'd have to ask Indian Hills if they'd be willing to do that there.
Wait a minute, you're saying you can't, they're not.
You get middle school boys
You get
baseball.
20 people there for middle school ball, I mean,
They're playing on the practice field, but
yeah.
right? Let me make sure I'm
I
on
think
the right-
that's what that is, yeah.
Bottom line is, your kid can go to the concert and play, and you don't have to go.
Which I think, since one of our
Really,
goals,
just defeats the purpose of having our kids in these events.
and one of our goals as a board was to ensure that families and our community can be involved in our school.
I mean, everything is getting more expensive, it's no secret, I'm just, like I said, I'm looking at this from a couple different viewpoints. I don't have a problem throwing $20 in the pot every time there's an event, you know, I don't have a problem with that, but I just, we're not charging now, it's on there, and all of a sudden we start charging. I'm concerned that you're not gonna have people show up and see those kids.
Yeah.
You know what it's like when a kid, you know, you can see a kid that looks in the stands and nobody shows up?
Would we say that the music concerts are the only point of contention, the fees for the music concerts here? Could we approve striking those and then allow me to go back to the music teachers, collect some information from them, and bring an amended one if we need to add back in a charge for the gate there?
Yeah. I'm thinking if we add it back in, if somebody pays like $135 family activity pass, why can't they get into the big concerts for free?
Right.
That was always kind of, I didn't know, because I bought the activity passes, but I still had to pay for band. That's the one that kind of got me, it's like, I'm already paying $150.
Right.
Let me into the stinking concert.
Right.
But, I shouldn't say stinking concert, I apologize to all you band kids out there.
Thanks.
So,
But I think since we haven't been charging for those,
that's more of a.
the damage from approving it, striking those 3 lines for the time being is negligible. Maybe I go back to them and say, let's try a year of free will offering.
Because I know they're not charging middle school, high school, I don't know, but, yeah, I do, because they play right after
Yeah, there's a lot of combined concerts.
I haven't paid for any concert from kindergarten through seventh grade.
And we still have a little bit of balance in that
And I'm
fund,
gonna
but I wanna
say,
pay for some.
however many years ago, I did go to a band teacher in the district and says, can we have a band / arts activity pass I can buy, so I don't have to remember to bring $3 every day? I'll buy an annual pass
Mhm.
that covers the play and all that kind of stuff. Can I just buy a pass for all that? It never went anywhere.
Yeah, no, I know.
But I asked the wrong person, I asked the teacher instead of the administrator.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think the challenge with that is when you buy an activity pass, and maybe, Lisa, you could speak to how we do it with the athletic one now. When you buy an activity pass, how do you decide what percentage goes to football? How do you decide what percentage goes to volleyball? The same would be true, I think, with an arts pass. How would we decide how much goes to the musical, how much goes to the play, how much goes to our band, how much goes to the high school choir, things of that nature?
So here we call it an athletic pass, and here we call this a family's athletics and an activity. We're calling it two different things.
So I think what we ought to do, and I think you brought up, is we approve everything but the band, just so that we can get the lunch stuff taken care of, and be in compliance on that, and then we just,
Just don't wanna run any risk
you,
with
you,
that.
you come back and let's readdress the whole band / activity pass.
So are we, well, I guess the.
So the motion that I would like to hear is something like, motion to approve the 2023-2024 general cafeteria and activity passes with the exclusion of the superintendent researching, making further recommendations on music concert activities.
So are we striking them for now and while approving?
Yeah.
Okay.
Striking for a later approval.
So moved.
Second.
The way you were looking at me, I knew you were. All in favor of the motion in a second that Lisa, bless her heart, is gonna figure out how to write. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Okay. Approve the football cooperative sponsorship with Moulton Udell.
So move. Second.
Motion second to approve the cooperative sponsorship with Moulton Udell School District for football. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed?
What happened to Seymour?
I think they're doing something with Mormon Trail. I can't remember for sure.
Okay,
I think they've done that in the past.
Yeah.
well, yeah, maybe that's.
Yeah, I think Brad told me that they're currently sharing him.
Yeah, I think so, I think you're right.
Approve the purchase of Chromebooks.
Motion approved, purchase of Chromebooks.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the purchase of 175 Chromebooks. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? That was easier than band, okay. Approve the Indian Hills Community College Field Experience Observation Agreement.
Motion approved.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the student observations for the Indian Hills Community College Field Experience. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Board meeting, set board meeting dates and times for 2023, 2024. So in that, there's a couple of,
I noticed the October 9th, 23, and October 14th, 24, still say 6:30.
Oh, okay.
And then I thought before we moved to 5:30, I thought we had said, we discussed starting at 5. Am I just thinking that we discussed that? And then I thought we had said 5, and then we just went with 5:30, and then we just rolled with it. I don't care either way, but.
I would prefer 5:30 because it just gives a little bit of time for me to get up here on certain days.
And the only other thought I have with the annual, the organizational, do you want to go far 2 weeks out from the election?
We have
Yes.
to.
Oh, you do have to, okay. But additional question.
That's actually a sticky wicket on the dates on that one because of the timing of the elections and everything.
Because the official canvas is not until next week, and you can't have the organizational meeting until after after the official canvas.
Yep, we've had to do that in the past because it's, yeah.
I see the workshop is at Howell.
Yeah, so, we were looking at doing it in the Hill. We just thought it might be nice for, if community members need to be able to access, that we're transparent and open and
Transparent open meetings.
seeable.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're working on food, for that too.
Oh, yeah, I'll talk to you about that. And then we're just gonna go ahead, and hopefully knows we're gonna put a board retreat for next year, just try and make that part of the regular calendar. Okay.
And then-
Motion.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna, if you guys, read about the new budget statement public hearing that we have here, this year, just make sure you guys know about that.
Yes.
Motion approved, board meeting dates and times.
Second.
With the, I don't proceed, just with the noted time to the same, okay. We have a motion second to set the board meeting date times for the next year. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Approve the final FY 23 teacher salary supplement payments. There are two sets of payments in there, so I'm gonna let Lisa Martin kind of say why.
Well, the annual one, is we keep 5% of the TSS monies in case there, have to hire teachers within the year, that we have money to pay them TSS, so they get the final payment in June. And then at the end of the FY 22 school year, if there was a balance in the TSS fund, that is now required by law for us to pay that out. So we could keep 5% of that, but we're gonna pay out the entire amount because it belongs to the teachers. So we index that just, the same way that we index the regular TSS payments.
Any questions?
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second to approve the FY 23 teacher salary supplement payments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. Next one, set board members for the graduation requirements workshop.
So I was hoping to get one or two board members to sit on the committee to review the graduation requirements. As you know, if you're on the board, they were revised a couple of years ago. There was not at that time grandfathering in of students who'd already been in the high school, the way that it's written. And we have our current graduation requirement policy, for example, with honors, is a point of contention in the community around, in order to graduate with honors, you have to have so many college credits, which makes some of our students ineligible if they'd like to compete in junior college athletics. Yep, sorry.
No.
So I would like us, since we're doing board policies anyway, and the 500 series will be coming up soon anyway, I thought it'd be nice to convene a work group to look through a few different policies and look at the direction we might want to go.
When will the meetings take place?
Probably depending on the members of the team, like, we'll all email, okay,
Fill me on there. Chris and Derek.
Mike as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, guys, appreciate it. It'll be a good time, I promise.
We'll see.
Yeah.
So,
Is that my comments or my one?
the three amigos to your left. All right, item K. Approve the EMC property liability insurance replacement cost limits. So, this is something that's come up before, and it's taken a while for some of us to understand. But at least if you want to talk about it, we have the option to insure at 90% or 100%.
Yeah, we're required to be at 90%. Amy, brought us up to that last year. It was gonna be a significant change, and so that kind of helped cushion that a little bit. 90% is where most districts are. But if we were to have a catastrophic event that took out, if I'm understanding, took out all buildings, then we would not be totally insured. So I guess 90% would be sufficient unless we're having,
So if a tornado would flatten Lakeview, Howard, CHS, the preschool, the bus barn, the admin building, we would only be covered at 90% of the cost of all those locations. If a tornado would take out all of those locations, I'm gonna guess FEMA is probably gonna be in town, and there's probably gonna be some federal support money. If a tornado would take out CHS, we actually can use our insurance up to a higher, we can use more of our insurance than just 90% of CHS, as long as Lakeview, Howard, the admin building, the bus barn, and the preschool are still standing and not damaged by it.
I just didn't wanna make the decision
Right.
to not make.
I don't think you're, yeah. So if we have $70 million, $70,082,423 worth of coverage right now, and the high school's done, and the entire high school is demolished by a tornado, and it cost us, and that building was on the books for 30 million of that 70. And it cost 40 million to replace it. We could replace it because it's under the 70 million, right?
That's my understanding from our conversation.
So we could use some of that coverage on other buildings because it's all in the cap. But if it would take something to take out every single building the district owns, that we would not be covered for 10%. So the risk is, what is your comfort level of something coming through, tornado, and take out every single facility and completely demolish everyone the district owns?
That's one good thing, not having a central campus.
Right, and I would say, having some division between three, maybe smaller buildings over here and our three larger buildings over there probably helps us in that regard too. Because the tornado would have to very much decide to hit Centerville Community School District, to hit all of our buildings in that time. And at that point, we must have done something very wrong.
But what's the cost to us difference?
Amy's working on that, and in her defense, I didn't get back with her in time for her to,
Okay.
so she's working on that.
You know, I don't think the decision could, for me, can be made on whether a tornado is gonna take them all. I think the decision has to be, well, how much more is it gonna cost?
Okay.
So I would make a motion that we table this until we have more information.
Is that the consensus? We need to vote on this?
Well, I made a motion, so it has a second.
He's gonna table it, I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion second to table for this old business in order to get rates for both the 90 and 100%. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, it's tabled.
I don't think Centerville's ever had a tornado. Every other town around us has, we're sort of in-
Stop,
sort of in
stop,
valleys.
stop. Did you?
Yeah,
We've had winds,
want the
sheer
100%.
winds.
one of my customers was an insurance adjuster. And I asked her, well, and she was retired. I said, well, what's the worst you'd ever seen? Well, she said, I've seen a lot of bad things, but when I went to Joplin, Missouri, that was the worst. It took the whole town.
Yep.
And if you think we can't have that,
Yep. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right, item L, approve personnel business procedures. There are quite a few of them in your packet. Any questions? Otherwise, a motion in a second.
I just want to point out again that I think we should ask the new social studies teacher if he wants to be the Model UN advisor.
I did get a person that told me today they'd like to do it,
Oh,
so we have to.
never mind.
We have to let Steve, you know, go through the process and everything, but somebody has interest in it. I was really excited to tell you that. Sorry.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion second to approve business, personnel business procedures in item L. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Financial reports in your packet.
I just want to point out that I did some last minute, nutrition stuff, if you noticed that, so the year's not, the financials aren't complete, because we don't have all of the information yet, and we haven't filed all of our claims yet, but, I can go into more detail about that if you have questions.
Will the numbers go
at
up then?
another- Well, the meals are,
Okay.
I'm sorry, there's 2 pages, the meals are finished. It's the financial that's not.
It just seems odd we had a major drop in meals. I'm surprised.
That, you know, I saw that, and yet, you know, I went back to 15, 16, 17, 18. It's not improving. Or,
I-
that may, I don't know, I'd say maybe improving is not the correct word.
Yeah.
It does look odd, that,
And I'll also point out, I left out the 3 years that dealt with COVID.
Sure.
And that was Shay's recommendation
She
from the
recommended
state.
that, 'cause there were, there was at least a year and a half where everything was free, so that participation went up. And I didn't feel like that was
And it's
comparable.
low the year where you don't have your 3 months in the spring.
Right, so that was her recommendation, and I agreed with that, so. And then I also put on the side the change in enrollment, if that, because I mean, that does make a slight difference. But,
I don't have to be further
yeah,
analytical
yeah,
And
to see what the proportion,
Fiscal
the
year
mere proportion are.
23 revenues versus expenditures, I think we kind of discussed it, we're not comfortable saying a set number on that, but it's looking in the 6, would you be comfortable saying it's looking in the 6 figures
I would say that.
for excess revenues over expenditures
Okay,
in the food service account?
interesting, okay.
I didn't understand what you said.
So 100,000 or more.
We'll be in the black, not the red this
Yeah.
year.
Black, not
Yeah.
red. Well, they guaranteed that we would break even.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Well, would we, it's not really fair to compare revenues from all those other years because they were at different rates and that
Right.
sort of thing.
Yeah,
So, but,
and I can dig deeper and give you more detail on revenues and charge and where, because those revenues are student meals and, I mean, what students pay
Yeah.
as well as what we get from the state.
yeah,
so.
it's different. This is probably the best comparison. Unless you could somehow, you know,
That's
the numbers.
that's the simple one. I'll
Yeah,
do
that's the
that,
simple
yeah.
one. The number one is much more difficult to really compare.
One thing we struggled with today was whether to try to include in some like à la carte, but there doesn't seem to be a great way to share that information. We do seem to have a lot of à la carte, but it's tough to codify that
Yeah.
because they're not reimbursable meals.
So that wouldn't be in the bill comparison numbers.
No, those are
Because they're
just
non-reimbursable.
regular reimbursable meals.
So we have some kids that are just going through and getting a la
So
carte.
like your private, if you're paying for your own
That's the
meals
answer.
and you're doing
And
à la
And
carte.
I'll try to look into that a little bit more as well. so-
That actually makes, because we went from, in 18-19, of 102 meals per student for the year, for lunch to 89. And so if they're doing à la carte, that would actually, that makes sense. It's a new billing theory that we have,
Well, we've had à la carte all that time as well.
but I bet you there's more à la carte based on the.
I know that my daughter, for example, at the high school, likes to do à la carte rather than the regular meal a lot of times because she's a rabbit and wants to eat just a little bit of vegetable every great now and then, and that's sufficient for her. I don't understand that, I can't work that way, but it works for her.
So the only way I think I can compare à la carte is by money, because it's not, that information isn't filed.
Okay.
or-
That would actually make sense to me. That there would be an increase in à la carte.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for my favorite report. Okay, anything else on financial reports?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve the financial reports. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Good. Please look at the bills. Superintendent report.
Just want to hit some of the highlights from some of the things that I've shared with you via my emails each week. First off, the Matt Carter presentation that we got on the last day with the teachers was fantastic. Very well received, very informative. A lot of that is just reminders of, oh yeah, I remember in undergrad when they told us that you can do this or you can't do that, just reminding people of how that works. He talked about communication, which was a big thing that we wanted to make sure we talked about. He had really, his presentation approach is great because he'll usually pick at SAI, it'll be a first-year principal. Here, he chose a first-year teacher to answer some of his, I think he called them head scratchers. So here's a case that a school ran up against. What do you think's the right answer to this? And the staff really got into that. That went over really well with everybody. We had our end of the year awards ceremony. Really happy to give out some good awards there. The Friend of Education Award went to Chico Construction and Dave McKeon. And the Michelin Teacher of the Year was Julie Stickler. So if you see her, I highly recommend giving her congratulations. We've been working on the beds, which I had it a minute ago. This acronym eludes me, Basic Educational Data System maybe, but it's a report we do for the state based on discipline and minutes, so our calendar minutes. And so we completed that. The Office of Civil Rights report that I sent to you in my email today, I was gearing up for 2 full days of staring at my computer, being bored to tears. And it turns out that I had misunderstood something. All I had to do this time around was submit our school contact information, and it'll be in December that I have to fill out the long report. So I guess that won't be the case.
So your schedule up.
Yeah, it really changed this week a lot. So as a result, I'll get to work on the next item, which is Kate and I are gonna start digging into the 200 series. I would really like, just so that we can get through some of these series, if I can get it out in the next week or so, I'd really like to ask the board to consider a first reading at the July meeting. I know we've been trying to do a meeting where you get it and then a first reading at the next meeting, but just because of the cadence of our meetings in the summer, it'd be nice if we could do a first reading in July, a second reading in August. Seeing anybody super upset about that if I can get it to you in the next week or so.
What's the topic?
That's the board. So it's the Board of Education. And so most of those items are required by code, how you list it. There's not a lot of wiggle room for us in there. I'll try to highlight where there is some wiggle room if we've got some. But once I get it out to you, if you think you're opposed to doing it on that, just let me know. I mean, I don't want anybody to be uncomfortable with anything, but just thought it might be a good idea to get those ones in and done before the election so that our policies are up to date in a good spot. So policy week this week, it just became.
We're so excited.
I'm stoked. Oh, and I should tell you also, we had people volunteer for the insurance committee for our insurance review next year that we're looking at. So we have members volunteered, meeting invite for the first meeting in August sent out, and already a bunch of the people have accepted the meeting invite and will be chugging along on that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So any questions from Mark? Okay. So going to board member takeaways, first of all, I want to thank Mike Moore for chairing the last meeting. I appreciate that very much. As far as the board retreat, does everyone know the date and the time of it now? Is there any questions?
8:30 on the 27th of June.
Okay, okay. So we're gonna have Trent Greenmeyer's gonna come in and do that. I really wanted to kind of go a little bit different direction, but on May 8th, I got a phone call and I spent, for the rest of the month, I spent 4 days in Central, I just wasn't around to do that, so. Actually, up until last Wednesday, I spent 4 days in town, so. I'm thankful that Greenmeyer's gonna come in and do this. You all got the thing on the disc profile. That should be very interesting. I poo-pooed personnel profiles 25 years ago, and I've since learned how valuable they are. And oh, by the way, Mark and I, and then Lisa decided to get a competitive joint. We've tried to predict everybody's personalities, and we're gonna see who we are.
Right.
And there's a couple of you that we're not so sure on where you're gonna fall, so But I've taken this several times, I know what mine is, and based on that, I said, Mark, I think I know what yours is, and anyway, so we're gonna see how good we are.
Has anybody not done like a disc or any of those before? Oh, you're gonna love this.
Have you done any type of personality
Is
profile?
there a way to check and see if they're
Colors.
combining it through?
Yeah.
Should.
See, you're one that we all have 3 different opinions on. You know, like we-
Look, I gotta ask
I was a
Brent.
blue back in the day.
Because I got to a certain point and
Scary.
I don't know that I sent it in, but I answered,
Yeah,
I know I answered all the questions,
okay,
but I'm not sure that it got
Okay.
through.
Yeah.
but it's,
I'll text
If
you.
it didn't, then I need to get it back, because I don't think I can get back in.
okay. But it's an interesting and if you're open, I was pretty closed-minded, based on my personality profile, 25 years, I was closed-minded because that's my personality, closed-minded, that kind of stuff. And I have since learned it to understand other people. What's that?
It's a 76-page report.
It really is awesome.
Yeah. So it really is a valuable tool to come back and do that, and I'll tell you, I think I know what you are. And based on our first meeting, and there's some things that happened early on when you were talking about private vehicles, insurance, driving for buildings, I'm just like, why in the world is that important? The more I've gotten to know you, the more I think I understand your personality, and I know why it's important to you, and it's helped me to understand and just accept you for who you are.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So it really does help for group dynamics if you really are going to open up and say, that's why he keeps pestering this line of questions, because that's who he is. And if you understand that, and you just say, I'm going to just take people for who they are and accept them, and hopefully they're going to accept me, it really is a valuable thing, and I think will help the board in the future. So I'm excited about what we're going to do.
Good news is none of it will ever say anybody's butts or
No.
anything. So you're good. You don't have to worry about, I was gonna say, I don't have a personality. I was a little worried about that, but I was okay. So I turned out all right on it.
They dug deep and found something.
And I'll
Thank
also, the
goodness.
first time I ever did it was Myers-Briggs, and there was 45 people in the room, and I was the boss, and the gal didn't want to have anybody say what their personalities were, except for you and your supervisor. So only one person in the room, we need to know one person's in the room, and that's Kelly's. And she asked me what my personality was, I said, I'm an INTJ, and she says, well, of course you are. Like, she had me pegged already for that. And started to go through it and say, and list out what my personality was. And I'm going like, I'm not that way. And I remember looking down, my HR manager and somebody else both looking and says, oh, yes, you are. And so I had to come to grips with, that's not who I am, because that's not who I thought I was or who I wanted to be, but that's who I was. And so I've just come over time to realize it's helped me to communicate better with people. And when people come up and they get maybe a little frustrated with management style stuff, says, okay, you're right. This is my personality, this is my trend. Let me back up and let me help meet your needs. So it may be a little bit, when you read it, just like, no, that's not me, but it probably is. And just be open-minded to it is what I would say, so. Okay?
And I think some of the goal setting work in the afternoon that he's got planned for us, we'll use that disc profile and that group dynamic conversation that we have to help push that goal setting forward.
And remember, this is the same process he took for superintendents. And really says, well, this is your goal. This is how Mark and all the other candidates, this is how they're going to react in these situations. And I think if we go back and look at it, there's been a few times that we said, Mark's going to really kind of probably like to overwork and not take enough time off. And how many times has the board said we're concerned about you take time? That comes from this type of process. So anyway, I'm excited about that.
They did a similar process so we got a session where Lisa and I had to go because you used Brenda Meyer for hiring. And they kind of took our personality profiles and talked through how we would interact with each other. I think that they were pretty accurate with what we got. We were kind of interrupted with that session a little bit. I think something happened back home that we had to take care of, but what we did get from them was pretty good on that.
Yeah.
By
Okay.
home, I mean here, home.
All right. So we're going to do board takeaways now because since I did listen in and you said that we were dispensing with board takeaways. I did hear you do that. So we are going to do them.
Thanks for sticking up for me, guys.
I listened to it. That was like one of the few things I could hear. All right. So Mr. Thomas, you're going to go last because you always say pass and wait on me half the time. So here we go. Mr. Mike Thomas.
Well, yeah, I thought the discussion with the attorney was good.
Closed session?
Yeah, closed session. I guess, I think about how we're gonna make things better. And I guess I keep going back to one of my fundamental supervisory skill. And that was, I always ask my employees or the people I'm supervising, what do you need to do your job? And I know that we've had, representatives, student representatives come in and give us a report. We've had reports from different places, I guess, different people. And I would like to see us to invite representatives from the different departments, whether that be a bus driver or a janitor or a secretary or a counselor. I'd like to just hear from them, what do you need to do your job?
I hear what you're saying. I'm cautious because we're getting into rowing versus steering.
You know what?
We're getting into rowing versus steering, so I use a little caution on that one.
I know that, but if you don't hear it,
Yep.
you don't know how to steer it.
Okay. So, I hear what you're saying, I feel obligated to make sure that we're rowing versus steering, or we're steering versus rowing, so.
And it may be, let me show you that my disk profile is gonna say that I'm an S and try to insert into the middle and keep peace and make everybody happy. Maybe some reports from some departments where members of that department are a part of that, and then we can ask follow-ups.
Well, there were surveys that are available, like my employment, every year we get a.
So I will say, here's my experience with surveys. People who have an axe to grind will often respond to a survey. People who think things are going well will not respond to a survey. So there's a confirmation bias that things are terrible. Well, let's give a survey, I'll give you $1 million. Well, I wanted 2. So I get nervous about a lot of surveying because I've seen surveys not tell the truth. However, then look at me being a hypocrite, because what did I do about the calendar? I did a survey. So that's kind of hypocritical. So yeah, we can look at it, but I think we have to watch for confirmation bias within any survey that we give. I'm great getting opinions. Obviously, my mistake, for example, on the bus driver issue, is because I had members of a class of employees share with me, hey, I think you made a mistake here, we should really look at this. And so I wouldn't have known how my mistake was affecting people without people talking to me and sharing that.
Okay.
And I brought up that I know we have a board policy that says we're supposed to do an exit survey with every employee that leaves.
We do not have a board policy that says that.
I know, but I'm absolutely sure when Tony Ryan was here that we had to pass this thing, and he was only here for, might need May and June, but it's in there someplace, but it doesn't show up.
I'm gonna roll us back into board takeaways, and so we can stay a little bit focused on it. If you wanna make that your board takeaway, you can, but let's just keep on track with this since we're.
Be my board takeaway.
Okay. I want to keep us on task per the agenda, okay? So, Chris.
Mine is the fact that some of the concerns that we've expressed at board meetings in the past are actually coming through. Like bus driver wages for one, and the graduation requirements. We've talked several times about that, so I'm just glad that they're coming through for us.
Good, thank you. Tim.
What was it, the last week of school, I have a 3rd grader, or a second, whatever grades they are, I had 3 of them. I had to go to 3 track and field things. I had never been to them before, I didn't know, I thought I was gonna go down there and get them all knocked out in one afternoon. Then it was like, oh, I have to go to each one of theirs, so it went into the next day. But just see the kids had a blast, and the way the teachers handled everything, it was great, it was pretty hot.
Were they excited to be on the new track and stuff?
Oh,
Was
yeah.
that part of it?
Yeah, they had all kinds of races they ran, I don't know if they were 5th grade, 10th grade, whatever, maybe 3rd. And it's all gonna change, but anyway, it was something that was really neat down there though. There was 4 out of the 5 of us that are Little League managers, I'd seen down there working with me. And the kids that you've been working with this spring, do the race, man, they wanna come up and give you, it was just fun to interact with the kids.
Okay.
It was really, you were right there.
Good.
That's my takeaway.
That's why we're here for kids. Derek?
I'll echo that with Tim, I just thought the track and field day for the kids was well organized, it was awesome, I had a good time. Again, I mean, I don't like being on the last ones, but things that are brought up, you know, answers are provided, action is taken. You know, the bus driver wages, I had several of them picking my ear, and I was like, okay, hold on, you know, we're gonna talk, we're gonna go through this, and the fact that you did, you just kick the can. You know, there's so many great things happening right now in this district, and I'm just proud to be a part of it.
I'm appreciative to the board for voting yes for that, by the way.
Okay. Mr. Moore?
I guess mine's, I'm just looking forward to the retreat. I think it'll be a good thing for all of us, and having the principals there, I think was a good move. So I think that'll be a good learning experience for everyone.
Okay. All right, Bob?
I'm gonna do two things. That lawyer was kind of interesting, just that logical mind and the steps he went through and the calmness and all that kind of good stuff. I sat in on that assembly the other day.
I thought I saw you there.
Yeah, I came in about 10 minutes late, so I couldn't figure out why that chorus guy was answering all those questions, but you just explained that now, I think, probably. My observation, the teacher part of me sitting there, the teachers really listened to the whole thing. Support staff got a little bored. They were antsy towards it. Well, he talked longer than a person should be talking to a group, I think, probably. But it was good stuff.
Okay. So mine is, real quick, you kind of took mine. I'm looking forward to the retreat. I really am. And I'm very appreciative everybody's gonna make time for the retreat. I talked to Tammy Droboff from ISD a few weeks ago, and she was kind of talking about maybe she could be involved in the retreat and the dates didn't work, but she said something to me that was interesting. She said, Kevin, do you realize that your board, you have, if 3 members of this board do 3 more hours of IASB stuff that can be done on the website, this board could get a board-wide recognition at the state convention. Only 21 out of 330 districts did that last year. And so there's some ways to do that. I've met it only because I went to an extra meeting that you guys did when I was up there.
So the great thing about the number 3 is that's not a quorum, so if people
Right.
wanted to come together to watch some of those.
Right, so there's some training videos and some things that we can do. So if you're interested in doing that, and especially since the convention is actually after the election, but before the new board is set, it's kind of a weird thing in there. So if we're planning on going, I'd like to encourage, if you're gonna run for election, to plan on the ISB convention up there. But this district could be one of a very, very, very small percentage that could be recognized at the state level for boardsmanship. And I think that's a great testimony to the board and what everybody's doing versus where we were even a year or 2 ago. So I'm just thankful for the boards and individual board members attending the convention, being willing to go to the retreat, and all the things that you guys do. I have my tenure on the board and everything, this is the most positive and most energy, I think, ending the school year that I've seen happen, and I'm just really grateful for each and every one of you. So at the retreat, we'll talk a little bit more about how you can do some things to get the better boardmanship. We got until like September to do it, so yeah, we got some time. So that would be a great tribute to the board to be able to get that. So because it really hasn't been that hard to get your points. You went to the convention, you had Tammy come here, and I can't remember something else, and everybody's got like 2/3 of their points.
Well, I think there's even certain things you can try to submit to them, because I had asked Mark about
Yeah.
the construction meetings, you know, would that?
That I don't know, but I know that there's some different board training videos that they have, and that's what I would recommend is watching the board training videos. And you can self-submit and report your hours through the ISB boards on the website. So anyway, so I just want to say thanks for the board. I think this board is on the right direction with Mark and with Lisa at the helm. We're going to move. It's the best ending school year I think we've had. So with that, Cameron, thank you very much for being here and waiting around and coming back and getting us online. Thanks, AJ, for streaming this for us. And with that, I accept a motion to adjourn.
Did we have anything from Aaron during the
I'll send that out to the board, just kind of updates on where they are with the construction.
Yeah.
motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye, all opposed? Thank you all for your time.